Hello everyone, it's Iris and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you this on-trend zero waste boho tube top, and all you need is 1 yard of 45-inch wide fabric. Now if you are more than a 2X, you're probably going to need about 1.5 to 2 yards. In addition to your fabric, you are going to need a measuring tape as well as 3/4 of an inch wide sewing elastic. This is knit elastic. I like it. It's a little bit stretchier and soft, and it feels a little bit nicer on the skin, as well as sewing thread of your choice and 2 safety pins, as well as stick pins. I don't have sewing stick pins showed here, but you're going to need some sewing pins or some kind of clips to hold fabric together. Now, once you've got your supplies gathered, you're going to need some basic measurements. The first one being your upper bust area, going underneath the armpit and going as straight across the back and as you can get it, as well as you want to get a good waist measurement. Once you have your measurements, we are ready to start sewing. So my fabric is about 45 inches by 36 inches wide, and I have it folded in half here. And once I fold it in half, essentially what I have is a big rectangle. So we're going to take that big rectangle and we're going to sew it in half following that folded side of the fabric. And once you have your fabric completely cut, you should now have 2 pieces of fabric, and this is essentially the front of your top as well as the back of your top. Now you're going to go ahead and line up your fabric with your right sides facing together. And what you want to do here is you want to line up the short ends of your rectangle together and begin to pin your 2 pieces of fabric together. I'm using my quilter's pins because they're a little bit longer, and I tend to use them quite a bit in my garment sewing, but you can use clips or whatever pins you have on hand. Nothing fancy with this project. And once you have your short ends pinned together, you want to make sure both short sides of your rectangle, that the front and back pieces are pinned together. We're going to take it to the sewing machine and we're going to sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now I'm not going to show you me sewing my fabric pieces together, but this is what it looks like now that it has been sewn together. And we're going to take it and we're going to seam finish the edges. I used my serger to seam finish both short ends of my rectangle, but you can use whatever you have. If you don't have a serger, you can use a zigzag stitch or some kind of an overcast stitch feature if you have it on your sewing machine. So we're going to take it now to the ironing board, and I'm going to press my seams flat. It makes for a lot neater finish on your garments, as well your fabric will lay a lot better when you go ahead to sew the next part of this project. So make sure you take a few seconds to just press down those seams. Now we're going to do a clean finish hem on the long ends of our rectangle. Essentially this is going to be our top and the bottom of our blouse, and what I did was I first pressed down 1/4 inch, and now I'm pressing it down 1 inch. So you can see there's the 1/4 inch fold, and now I'm going to fold it down 1 inch, and I'm using my seam gauge to make sure that I'm at 1 inch, and I'm pressing that down. Pressing is going to really help our folds to stay down nice and flat, especially if you're a beginner sewer. It makes sewing your hem down so much easier and have a more professional finish. Now I am not pinning mine, but if you need pins, pin them down. That's another way that you can make sure that you get a nice clean finish. So this is me showing you what it looks like, and we're gonna go ahead and we're going to get ready to edge stitch our hem down. We're gonna edge stitch both the top and the bottom, and we're going to make sure that once we sew all the way around, we leave about a 4-inch wide opening, and we need that because essentially this is the casing for our elastic. So not only is this going to serve as the hem of the top and bottom of our tube top, but it's also going to be the casing for our elastic. So I'm not going to show you what edge stitching looks like. I do have a tutorial. If you need to know what an edge stitch is, you can go to my page. But this is my edge stitch, and what it looks nice and neat. I'm using white thread because I want it to blend in with my fabric. And there is the opening. Okay, so my opening is about 4 inches wide. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my elastic. So you're going to take those measurements that I showed you at the beginning of this video, and you're going to subtract 1 inch from your measurement. So for me, my upper bust area is 42 inches. I minus an inch, and now my top elastic is 41. My other elastic piece is about 35 inches because my waist is 36. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put my safety pin on the end of one piece of the elastic, and I'm going to pin the safety pin to the other end, and I'm going to pin it to my top. Now, once I've got the one end pinned to my shirt, I'm going to go ahead and start feeding the elastic into the casing, just taking my time and pulling the fabric over my elastic. Okay. Now, once my elastic is through, we're going to go ahead and sew those elastic pieces ends together. And what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to overlap them, and I'm going to take them to my machine, and I'm going to basically sew a square around those overlapped pieces. And so this is what it looks like. You can see I have like a little rectangle, a little square, but both pieces are securely sewn together. And now we're going to go ahead and close the casing, that opening in the casing, by edge stitching. And essentially all you're going to do is you're going to pull your fabric straight across the elastic, and you're just going to go ahead and take your time and edge stitch. Now I want to make sure that my elastic doesn't roll and like shift all inside of the casing, and so I'm going to do that by edge stitching along those side seams, or you can stitch in the ditch if you don't want to see your stitch lines. And that's it, y'all. Isn't she cute? This is so on trend. I've saw it on so many different websites. This would be really nice with a pair of shorts, with jeans, with really chic with a pair of linen pants. This is a great stash busting project, and you can have this project yourself with very little effort and very little money. As always, thank you for watching, and I look forward to sharing more DIY style with you.